guys, how are you doing? I hope you are very good. As some of you will remember, last week I made a video organising my makeup collection, and while I was doing that I found up so many eyeshadow palettes that I completely forgot I had. Now, makeup used to be a real passion of mine, and don't get me wrong, I still love makeup, but I've definitely lost my confidence in terms of being able to create like looks that are unique and kind of striking. I think I go for the same kind of stuff like every day. So today I've decided that I'm going to go through all of my eyeshadow palettes. I have too many eyeshadow palettes for one single person. I have put myself on a ban of buying any more until I've used them up. So for that reason, I don't have a lot of the like new and trendy ones, you know. I don't have like the Conspiracy palette or the Morphe James Charles palette. I'm just listing YouTuber palettes at this point. That wasn't my intention. But so yeah, this isn't like, look at all these new trendy eyeshadow palettes I have. I wanted to look through all of my eyeshadow palettes today to remind myself of what I have and what I can create with what I have. And I actually thought that what I would do is show you guys as I'm going through them, point out a couple of my favourite shades in each, because I think my eyeshadow looks are very wearable normally. I do get quite a lot of questions about them on Instagram and occasionally on YouTube as well. So today I have decided to show you my tools. So I'm going to talk through all of my eyeshadow palettes. I'm going to tell you what my favourite thing about it is, or if there are any particular shades which I love, and whether I would buy it again, in the hopes that if you are on the hunt for a new eyeshadow palette, that this will help you to be able to figure out which one you should buy. Or if you just like having a nose in other people's makeup, that's fair enough, I do too. But before we get started, I just wanted to introduce myself, just in case this is your first time on my YouTube channel. So my name is Amy, and I make normally 2 or 3 videos a week, but through the month of May I'm actually doing a video every day, so we're like nearly 2/3 of the way through now. It's really hard work. But I think we're having a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun. I often make like beauty videos and reviews and things like that, so I do always say that obviously this is only my own opinion. Everybody has a different experience with skincare and with makeup, so you may have opinions that differ from mine, and that's totally fine. If you do, please leave them in the comments so that we can all look in the comments and learn together about what other people do and don't like, and what products they do and don't get on with. And then I think we can use the comments like a learning resource. So if you are looking for a new eyeshadow palette, then you can go down in the comments and hopefully see what other people like as well, or what other people don't like, and I hope that that will help you. 2 more bits of housekeeping while we're here. I'm not just throwing up peace signs. Please do click the like button if you enjoy this video. I've never made anything like this before, but obviously I'm a makeup addict, so there's plenty more where this came from. So if you do enjoy this, you can let me know by pushing the thumbs up button so I know what to make more of. And lastly, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe to my channel if you are not already subscribed. My goal is to reach 10,000 subscribers this year, and I'm like still quite far away from it, but I'm still optimistic. So if you would like to see more videos like this, and daily videos throughout May, and then 2 or 3 videos a week after that, then you know what to do. Okay, let's crack on. So I thought we'd start off with the palette that I'm actually wearing today, which is the Kylie Cosmetics, I think this is called the Blue Honey palette. This is the only eyeshadow palette that I own from Kylie Cosmetics, and to be honest, I don't really know why I ordered it. I love this. The colours that I have on today are Raw, Busy Bee, Honeymoon, and Buzz Off as well. So all of the pinky shades basically, including these 2 like sort of more reddish tones. A recurring theme that you will notice is that I do like warmer toned eyeshadows, which I think is why I get on so well with this palette. You've got pinks, you've got like reddy oranges, bronzes, and you've got these like really lovely warm like yellow tones, as well as these blues for a bit of a pop of colour, which is really nice because also they are blue, but they're not like in your face blue, so they're quite easy to blend in with everything else and work in with everything else. And I think this is really a palette where every single one of the colours goes together. So if you wanted to try and put them all on your eyes at once, you can, but it's really mix and match, which to be honest is what I look for in a palette. The only one that I don't really wear a lot is this blue shimmer shade, which is called Royal Jelly. And that's just because when I wear shimmer shades, I tend to put them all over the lid, and I don't often do that with colour, probably just because I'm not brave enough. But I tend to use the matte colours to do like under the eye and things like that. So yeah, that is the only shade that I don't really use that often from this palette, but I love this palette. I think it is brilliant, and I think they blend out really nicely. I mean, you can see them on me today. I think that they blend seamlessly, and I'm really impressed with this. I would definitely buy a lot more Kylie Cosmetics if it wasn't such a pain in the UK with shipping. So next we're going to move brands, and we're going to go over to Urban Decay, starting off with the first ever eyeshadow palette that I owned. I remember buying this. I bought it in Debenhams, and I put a picture of it on my Instagram, and I was so proud. So this is the Urban Decay Naked 2 palette. As you can see, it's a little bit worse for wear. I've had this for such a long time. I've had this since I was in, how old was I? 17, and I'm now 24. So I've had this for 7 years. As you can see, there are definitely certain shades that I use a lot more than others, like this transition shade called Tease, which is just a really nice matte brown. This was a really good like starter eyeshadow palette because you can just create a lot of different neutral looks using this, which is what I was after at the time. I really like to use this shade here called Booty Call in the inner corner of the eye. I think it really helps to brighten up the eyes. And it's really good that it comes with this sort of full-length mirror. There you are. Because obviously it means that you can do your makeup on the go. The only thing is, and I've noticed this a lot with Urban Decay eyeshadows, and maybe with others too, but I've noticed it more with Urban Decay. For some reason, the dark ones always seem to shatter for me. I think it's because some of these eyeshadow palettes have been moved around from house to house, and some of those moves like weren't as I didn't pack very well for some of them, so it always seems to be the dark ones that shatter. But so I've taken this one out completely because it was just going everywhere, but this second one, Busted, has kind of shattered a little bit as well. I will say that now this is not my favourite eyeshadow palette, and the reason for that is just that a lot of them are quite cool toned. So as somebody who is very pale with pink undertone in my skin and green eyes, I just don't feel like this looks the best on me personally. So I don't really reach for it anymore, but I do like to have it as like more of a sentimental thing because it was my first ever one. So the next one I bought, because I loved that one so much, was the Naked 3. I've owned a couple of these in my time, so this one is not very heavily used, but the first one was. This palette was my absolute jam for such a long time. My favourite shades were Limit, which is this really pretty transition shade, which is just perfect for my skin tone. I love Black Heart down here. It is this like black shimmer shade with like red and gold reflect, so it just looks really, really pretty, ties in really well with everything else. The only thing that I will say about these is that they don't feel like they last very long on the eyes. Like I'll put them on in the morning, and then by the evening it kind of looks like I'm not wearing anything a lot of the time, which when I was younger and I wanted to put eyeshadow on for like the excitement of putting eyeshadow on or whatever on a Saturday, like it didn't really matter. But now what I do look for in an eyeshadow palette is long wearing, and I find that this doesn't really do that for me anymore. But that being said, it's really pretty. Next up, I've got 2 more Naked palettes, so let's just keep going with those. This is the Urban Decay Naked Smokey palette. I much prefer this packaging. I think it's a lot more sleek than the old like tin ones. So this is the Urban Decay Smokey palette. Now, I have very mixed feelings about this palette because it is beautiful, but I do find that this kind of deep purple colour, this deep blue colour, they kind of just like merge into like a grey. I don't feel like they hold their colour very well once they're on the eye. That being said, the sort of bottom 4 and the top 4 of these I love. So in the top 4 we've got a pale matte cream shade, a transition shade that again is the colour of my skin tone. We've got this really, really deep, lovely, like chocolatey brown, and then we've got sort of a slightly more grey, and then at the bottom we've basically got those but in shimmer shades. So I really like that section. It is literally just this middle section of the palette that I kind of feel like all blends into one. I understand obviously why they went for a lot of those darker shades in a smoky eye palette, but I don't know, to me I can't really tell the difference between the shades. So yeah, that's the Naked Smokey palette. Next up, this is one of my favourite palettes of all time. It's definitely top 3. And it is the Naked Heat palette, again by Urban Decay. This is, I think, my second one. My first one was gifted and I loved it so much, but I'd already bought myself one. So yeah, this is one that doesn't look very well used, but trust me, I use this almost every single day. especially around like autumn time. I think it's a really, really lovely color palette. Obviously there's lots of different reds in them. My favorite is this kind of pinky red shimmer shade, which is called Scorch. I think it's so beautiful all over the eye. It is a little bit crumbly, so I kind of try and make sure that I do it before I do my like face makeup, but it's such a stunning shade and it really does stay on all day. Whatever the problem was with the Naked 3 formula, they seem to have sorted that out by Naked Heat. Naked Heat was a much later release. So yeah, I'm a really, really big fan of Naked Heat. If I had to come up with a criticism for it, it would be that to a certain extent, it does feel like any look that I do with this palette comes out looking very similar, and that is just because the colors are so close to each other. I mean, obviously you can get like it on the deeper end of the spectrum or the lighter end, but generally speaking, they're all like oranges and reds. But it's a Heat palette, like that's what you expect of it. Of all of the Urban Decay palettes that I have, this is the one that I would recommend that anybody buy if they like those red kind of shades. I think this looks so pretty on like green or blue eyes particularly, but obviously anyone can wear it. Now, this is a palette that I got a few years ago and I haven't used it too much, but it is my pride and joy. And it's the Urban Decay Moondust palette. You can't actually buy these anymore, but you can buy the individual shadows as singles, I think. Basically, it is this absolutely stunning like glitter palette. I've never owned anything like this. These shades are pure glitter. In fact, I might show you a swatch. Which one should we go for? Let's do this blue. Can you see how glittery that is? Oh, you can't. You just have to take my word for it. Especially with a wet brush, if you pack that on, it is like pure glitter. I use this a lot over Christmas with a wet brush to really pack it on and get that colour on. I do understand why they sell the singles and not the palette though, because there are definitely shades that I gravitate towards more than others. And it's not the kind of palette where like you can make a cohesive look out of all of these at once. I would love to see somebody try, but that much glitter on me would not look great. But they are really nice to add like a pop in the center of the lid or under the eye. Yeah, I'm a really big fan of this palette, but definitely of the individual shades as well. I'm only now realizing how many Urban Decay palettes I have. I think I bought all of these in like a really similar phase in my life aside from the Naked Heat, so I was clearly going through something with Urban Decay. This one was actually gifted to me again by Urban Decay, which is lovely, and it was a limited edition collection with this French artist whose name I can't pronounce, Jean-Michel something. It is, you might recognize the like artwork. I do. This is the clasp, which is really pretty. It's like a little crown, which is his like logo, and then inside it's still all his art, and then we have these 8 really pretty like deep colourful shades. This one here is my favourite, Boom or Untitled. I love these blues. I think they are so rich and so beautiful, and I really like to use like a really thin eyeshadow brush and go in above my liner with a little pop of one of these, and I think that then when you blink and you like catch a pop of it, it's really pretty. There was also a neutrals kind of palette along with this collection, but I put that in a giveaway because they gave me the whole collection, and as you can see, I didn't need it. But yeah, I'm really glad that I kept hold of this one because I don't use it much, but it is really pretty. Next, we have Urban Decay Vice. This is some of the most stunning packaging I think Urban Decay have ever done. I love this, but this is one that was really, really badly beaten up in the move. Look at the mirror. 7 years bad luck. So in here there is a really nice mix of different neutrals and matte shades, shades that are really wearable, but also shades that add a pop of colour. I definitely went through a phase with this green called Dragon and this blue Freeze and this navy Heroine. I used to love those. And yeah, I think the only colour that from this that I have never worn is maybe this really pale pink called Alien. I will always kind of reach more for a red or a purple than a pink, I think, or like a, I prefer like a champagne-y kind of colour, like what I've got on my eyes today really, over this kind of like candy pink. But other than that, every single shade in this eyeshadow palette I did use, and I loved the fact that it did encourage me to branch out in a kind of accessible way and gave me those colours that were not too bright but were definitely outside of my comfort zone, which was really good. I had a lot of fun playing with this palette. So much fun, in fact, that I went and bought Urban Decay Vice 2. Now this one I will hold my hands up and say I didn't like as much. The packaging is this really pretty purple colour. I do really like the packaging, but that's not why we're here. I did like these pinky shades, and I loved this purple that's like, I always thought of it as like a wizard's purple. I don't know why, it's like proper like Cadbury purple. It's lovely. But I just feel like, yeah, this palette wasn't as fun as the other palette. I felt that I could create less different looks. And the kind of, they still had that like green, blue thing going on, but I don't know. This didn't scratch the itch that Urban Decay Vice 1 did. Now, the last Urban Decay palette I bought to push myself out of my comfort zone. And while I haven't used it very much, when I do use it, it is my pride and joy. And it is the Urban Decay Full Spectrum palette. So in here, we have like a little rainbow vault. It's amazing. I love this row of colours because they are so bright. I also really love this blue down here. It's more like a periwinkle blue. It's called Metamorphosis. There we go, got there. And it's just lovely. I love how pigmented these colours are. I love how brightly they come out. I like to create like ombre looks along the top of my liner using these in several different colours, and I think that's really good fun. And again, it's something that is not kind of too bright and too outside of my comfort zone, but just adds a little pop of colour, a little bit of something so that when you blink, you catch that colour, and I think that's really good fun. I would love to create more looks with this though and really reach outside my comfort zone. Maybe I will do that. However, I will say with a full spectrum palette that again, they don't last very well. I don't think I've ever tried what was I about to say? A setting spray with it though, so maybe I will try that out. But I have found that even on the occasion where I have used it over my whole eye, which to be fair, I don't do very often, after a few hours, the colours lose a lot of their kind of impact. So you can kind of see that I've got eyeshadow on, but they become a lot more dull. Maybe if I use a wet brush, or if I use some setting spray, or like put some white concealer or white eyeshadow underneath, that might kind of help to lift them a little bit. I'll have a play around. So now let's move across to Anastasia Beverly Hills. The first palette that I have is the Modern Renaissance palette. Now, this was the first ABH product I ever owned. I bought this in Sephora in Disney Springs, and I do love it. One thing I don't love is the packaging. This like faux suede like felt, it makes me feel quite unwell, but that's something that like anything that's that texture does to me. But I just wish that wasn't on it, to be honest. This is the beautiful Modern Renaissance palette. It is absolutely stunning. These are some of the most pigmented, easy to blend shades I've ever owned in my life. The second I used this palette for the first time, I was like, oh, like it's changed the game. So they're definitely a step up from the Urban Decay palettes, I think, in terms of like blendability. This is another really great palette for being able to use any color combination together and have it still look really good, really like cohesive. So I would definitely recommend this palette. Maybe not for a complete newbie to eyeshadow, because there are some of these kind of more daring colors in here. But if you are somebody who is kind of looking to branch out of like nude eyeshadows, but you don't want to go like crazy, then this might be a good option for you. It is a really beautiful palette. I'm a big fan of this one. I forgot about how much I loved it, to be honest, until I just saw it again. So the other ABH palette that I have is Prism, and again, it's still got that horrible on the packaging. Ugh, I hate it. But this is the inside of this palette. So it is a lot more gold than pink. We've got some pops of colour in there. We've got this blue, these blues, we've got orange, we've got this really cool like neon yellow that I like to run underneath my lower lash line sometimes. And yeah, I think that this palette is really good fun. I think that there are lots of different looks that can be created using this palette. And again, it has been designed in such a way where you can use pretty much any of the colours together and it would look really good. I feel like I kind of fall back on my like normal eyeshadow colours in here though, because you still have access to that pink and the orange and this like purpley nude kind of shade. This one down here, it's called Lucid. It's an absolutely stunning shade for the inner corner. It's so nice. I love Eternal all over the lid, or Pyramid. I think it's so, so pretty. But because of that, I think I haven't really experimented very much with some of these like different shades that I would have liked to. It does look to me like these two like shimmery blues are really quite similar, although this one's more greeny and this one's more purple, so really what am I talking about? But yeah, I think this palette's really beautiful. I wore it yesterday. I loved it. ABH eyeshadows are so incredible for blendability. They feel very like finely milled almost. I don't know if that's the right word, but they just feel almost like a liquid. They are so smooth to apply. They're very velvety. Eyeshadow's really hard to describe. Okay, oh my god, this video is gonna be so long. So now we are moving over to Too Faced. Now the first palette that I have from Too Faced is the Sweet Peach palette. This is such a gorgeous palette. It smells of peaches as well, which is amazing. Too Faced palettes always smell so good. And this one has like a load of really nice peachy shades, just imagine. But you've also got like purples in there, a little bit of green, so it is really nice. Again, it's one of those palettes where you can use any combination of the colors, and actually I think this is a really, really beautiful palette, particularly around like springtime. I like to take this one on holiday with me. You've got a lot of different, like really, really slightly different shimmer shades, which I think is really fun because I definitely go through phases with shimmer shades, and this allows me to do that all in one palette. I love this color down here called Summer Yum. It is such a beautiful, like slightly red toned terracotta kind of color, and the formula of it is stunning. So it really, really blends out nicely. Although to be honest, the more I'm talking through these palettes, the more I'm realizing how many of them are very similar. So from there, I also have the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes, which is very, very similar to that palette, except they're all mattes. Funnily enough. I've only ever used this palette once, and it was for my first impressions video that I filmed a couple of weeks ago, and I've put it straight back in the packaging so that I don't use it because I've got so many opened eyeshadow palettes. I want to try and save the ones that I haven't opened yet, so that I don't just have 1,000,001 open eyeshadow palettes. But this is the Just Peachy Mattes. We love her. Oh, they just look stunning. I just want to use them all, but obviously they are just peachy mattes. I don't know what else to say about them. Something that they've done really cleverly in this palette, and we'll see this again in another palette in a moment, is the way that they've lined them up really lends itself to different looks, or you can mix and match them. So yeah, I think that's really stunning. Lovely, a lovely palette. I can't wait to use it more. And the last Too Faced palette that I have, again, it's still in its box. It's the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette. The reason this is still in its box is because this is my #1 favorite eyeshadow palette ever. I actually used so much of, I think this is the third one that I've had. The first one broke in that horrible move. The second one I've actually used pretty much to the actual dregs of almost all of the colors. So I asked my sister to buy me a new one for my birthday, and she did, but I'm trying to exercise some willpower and not open it yet. It is absolutely gorgeous. So on the back there you can see the range of colors. So I mean, it's very similar to everything else that I really like. There's some golds, some pinks, some burgundies. There's nothing too bold in here, but I do think that this is quite a versatile palette. You can go from really quite a dark smoky look to a really light, barely there kind of eyeshadow look, and this palette really does it all. I love it so much. It is my baby. If you have never owned an eyeshadow palette, or if you don't own the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette, I would really recommend getting this one. It's my #1 favorite eyeshadow palette ever. So I think if I had to rank them, it goes this, the Urban Decay Naked Heat, and then the Kylie Cosmetics one. So now we are moving over to Tarte, and we're going to start off with the Tartelette in Bloom palette. So this is apparently Amazonian clay. I don't know how that works, but okay. So this is the inside of the palette. As you can see, it's very well loved. I remember I first used this palette on a flight. I was flying by myself from London to Russia, and I was surrounded by businessmen, and I was doing my makeup with this palette and like snapping pictures of the palette on like the plane table, and I was so excited about the palette, and I think they must have been looking at me like, is she okay? But this is absolutely stunning. Again, this is another palette where they've done a really good job of running different looks up the different lines, if you see what I mean. In each row you have a dark shade that's matte, a like medium matte shade, a lighter matte shade, and a shimmer shade. Obviously some of them are in different orders, but I just think that it is absolutely stunning. So you've got like 3 looks ready to go there, and then you can mix and match. So my favorite look to do with this is I use a little bit of this Funny Girl in the corner, in the inner corner, just to brighten the eye up. Then I use a lot of Firecracker. As you can tell, I like to get this one like on a wet brush and like really pack it on the lid. I think it's a beautiful bronze colour. It's the best bronze I own. And then I like to use Rebel as like a transition shade to like smoke everything out, and then I go in with a combination of Leader and Activist, and I smudge them into the crease and the outer corner to give it a lot of depth, and I think it's such a lovely look. I love the names of these colours as well. We've got like Charmer, Jet Setter, Smoke Show, Smarty Pants. It's so cool. Yeah. Other than the fact that it just tried to bite me, I really like this palette. It's lovely. I have 2 other little Tarte palettes. This one is Tartist Pro To Go, which is just a little on-the-go palette of 6 shades. Again, that I've never opened yet, but it looks lovely. There are 3 mattes and 3 shimmers, and I think it's just a really nice little travel size palette. That looks great. Can't wait to try that. And then we have this one, which is the Be Your Own Tartist, and it is an eye and cheek palette. So you've got 6 different shades in there and a blush. This isn't one that I reach for all that often. It is absolutely stunning, but to be honest, it's not particularly versatile. They have given you these 2 like look suggestions in here. So you've got like a more like neutral look, and then a more purpley kind of look. It is really pretty. The colours are stunning. Again, you've got that Amazonian clay formula, so the colour payoff is really lovely. It's really blendable. It's a beautiful formula. I think I should try and get into the habit of taking this with me when I go like away for a couple of nights or something. Obviously it's got that blush in there as well, which is lovely. This is such a nice blush as well. I use this blush quite a lot, but yeah, I think it's a lovely palette. It's great if you are someone who really likes to stick to one look. I mean, I do stick to one look, even though I pretend I don't. You know what though? If you are someone who wants to learn one eyeshadow look, perfect one eyeshadow look or 2 eyeshadow looks, this could be a really good option, because you've got the transition shade, the shimmer shade, and the crease shade. And again, you've got that same formula over here as well. So to be honest, I think that there are a lot of people who this palette would really suit. We must be nearly done now. So this is the Charlotte Tilbury Stars in Your Eyes palette. I don't think this is available to buy anymore, which is absolutely devastating. This was very kindly gifted to me by Charlotte Tilbury, not herself, but the brand. And I didn't actually use this for ages, to be honest. And then one day I was like, I would like to use that palette now. Which is inevitably what's going to happen with all of the ones that I'm trying to keep in their packaging. Now, this palette is gorgeous. My favourite colour is this one. Unfortunately, I don't think the colours themselves have names, but it is in the Confident Eyes section, and it is just this absolutely stunning glitter shade. Now, this is the sparkliest eyeshadow I have ever worn that wears over time. So like, if I put this on at 7:30 in the morning, this shade here, when I get home at 8 p.m, it will still look like I've just put it on. The glitter stays so sparkly. Actually, maybe some of the colour drops out, but like you can see the glitter and it really stands out on your eyes even after hours and hours and hours of wear. And because of that, this palette is a standout to me, just because of that one shade. So what I want to know is whether I can buy that shade alone. I don't know the answer to that question. If you do, please let me know. Next, we have another palette that I've never opened, and it is this Smashbox Cover Shot Smokey palette. I got this for Christmas this year. It looks lovely. On the inside, you can see that there are going to be a couple of matte transition shades, and then other than that, it's all these like dark, smoky, dramatic shades, which looks really good fun. The front of the box is one of those things that when you move it, it moves, and I just think that's really fun. I did have one Smashbox eyeshadow palette before that I actually forgot about until just this second. But basically, I used to work for Clinique, and if you know what the Clinique people on the counter have to wear, the Clinique consultants, you have to wear like these white lab coats. And one day I was wearing my lab coat because I was going to training in London, and as I was on my way to the train, a girl bumped into the back of me and like hit my bag, and I didn't realise what had happened. But then I went to do my makeup on the train, I opened the palette, it went everywhere, like all over this clean white lab coat that I had to wear for training, and it was just like it was so bad. But yeah. So that's my history with Smashbox eyeshadow. Hopefully that one will be more successful and won't smash all over me. My camera is actually protesting because of how long I've been filming this, and it keeps saying that the internal temperature is too high and it keeps turning itself off. So actually I think that's a sign that we should just stop here. I have got a handful of other palettes down there, but they're not really ones that I use particularly often. So I think you've seen like the most part of my collection. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I don't really know what it was, but I do hope that if you are on the hunt for a new eyeshadow palette, that might have helped you out with your decision a little bit. Let me know in the comments if you have tried any of these palettes and what you thought of them. I would love to know. Or if not, what is your favourite eyeshadow palette? Is there a palette I've never tried? Is there a brand I've never tried? To be honest, if I didn't just list the brand, I've probably never tried their eyeshadows. So please do let me know if I'm missing out on a trick. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this really ridiculously long video. I will see you tomorrow for another video. As I said, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, it would mean the world to me if you would click the little subscribe button and stick around. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if you found it helpful, if you want to see more content like this, and I will make sure to make it if you like it. I think that's everything for today, so thank you for watching. I will see you tomorrow.